Tonight's first period on Comcast Sportsnet is brought to you by Papa John's. The day after the Flyers win and score 3 or more goals, get 50% off your online order using promo code FLYERS at papajohns.com. By Mazda. Mazda is KBB.com's lowest cost to own brand over 5 years. And by the $100,000 Sugar House Shootout. Register at PhiladelphiaFlyers.com/shootout.
And welcome into our Comcast Sportsnet studios. John Bork and Bill Clement back with you here. And with that, if there's a headline for tonight's game, it would be Zip and Zep. 2 games where they've been shut out, and obviously Rob Zep. Now, he has been the recipient, Bill, of games where he has gotten a lot of goal scoring. Think back to, obviously, Tampa and then Winnipeg for his first NHL win. But in games where the scores have been tight, they've been close, what have you seen from Rob Zep?
He's been just as good in the low-scoring games. What I like about Rob Zep, first of all, is his focus. I don't care that he's 33 years old and people could say, well, you know, he's supposed to be mature. You're supposed to have professional focus at that age. You can still kind of be wide-eyed when you're playing your first stretch of games in the NHL. Rob Zep's focus has been fantastic. A secondary component to his emotional game is his patience. He never overreacts. He waits for everything. He doesn't make a move until the shooter has made a move. And that's huge, because if you jump the gun in the NHL at the NHL level, you're going to get scored on. The third thing, and maybe the most impressive, is his technique. He's very compact. He's not leaky at all. There's seldom a 5-hole opportunity for anybody. And he's very efficient. He doesn't waste any movement, any energy. He stays compact. I mean, there's so many things to like. There's the emotional side of the game. There's the physical and technical side of the game. And as far as I'm concerned, the Zepper has not let in anything close to what I could call a stoppable shot. And that's all you want from your guy. If he makes the odd spectacular save, that's bonus territory. Stop the stoppable shots first, and Zep has done that.
He is also facing a very fragile team in the Buffalo Sabres. It's probably almost imperative that don't give them a goal early in the first period or a couple of goals and let this team get their confidence. All right, that's going to do it for us. We'll go to break. When we come back, it's the drop of the puck at the First Niagara Center in Buffalo right after this.
Just about ready for the Flyers and Sabres. They'll play their entire season series over about a month's period of time here, as they'll play again here in Buffalo in mid-February and again in Philadelphia right after that.
Let's take a look at our Kia starting goaltenders. Or we'll look at them in a few seconds here as they drop the puck quickly.
You, Jonesy, you just teased it.
Yes, I did.
Underway, the Flyers in their road whites, dark home uniforms for the Sabres. As the Sabres trying to break a 9-game losing streak, and the Flyers trying to get back to the winning track as well after a couple of tough losses. Luke Schenn, that puck to Wayne Simmons. He is quickly checked, and the puck will roll back around to the other side of the ice. Del Zotto is there, getting it ahead. Ronaldo trying to clear the zone. Goes off the stick, kept in, though, by Buffalo. And Josh Georges, the veteran defenseman, will steer it back behind the Philadelphia net. You will hear a lot of names on this Buffalo roster that you probably don't recognize. A lot of young players, as they have certainly gone to youth. This will be icing against Philadelphia. And now, without further ado,
we will see our Kia starting goaltenders. Michael Neuvirth in net for the Buffalo Sabres. There's his record, 3-12-1. And Rob Zep back in goal for the Flyers, his 4th start. A chance to get his record to 3-1. And the Flyers are looking to play a lot more offensive in front of them.
Sabres looking to go to the offense here, though. Chris Stewart, a centering pass, is blocked back behind the net. Zemgus Girgensons toppled to the ice, gets back up. You look at the Buffalo line combinations put together by Ted Nolan at the top of your screen. He's made some changes after they were beaten by Minnesota 7-0 here the other night. First home loss in 3.5 decades for this team, as Zotto will backhand that puck in. However, could not come up with that. The Sabres now forced the Flyers get in the forecheck. Giroux throwing his body around. Voracek looking for the puck behind the net. It goes back out to Mark Streit. Sends it back in along the wall, but it's played by the Sabres. Finding their young defenseman takes a hit. The puck gets past Nick Schultz. And the Sabres' Girgensons will send the pop fly out to the neutral zone. Buffalo changing here as Jake Voracek still on top of the NHL scoring race. Roars out to center. Dropped it back for Giroux. And now Giroux to Nick Schultz, and into the Buffalo zone it goes. Flyers now in need of a change. Georges, the former Canadian, goes back to get the puck. Turned down a trade to Toronto to come to Buffalo. And a rough year, obviously, here in upstate New York. He is an NHL low, minus 25. There's a shot on goal. Zep the save as the puck came right out in front on a knuckler in out of. And the Flyers there to move it up. Matt Reed, who's under the weather, but able to play here tonight. Backhands off the side of the net. Flyers get it out in front. Couturier was tied up. And Buffalo moves back with it. Patrick Coletta. Feisty one. Well, backhand to the Flyers zone. Andrew McDonald comes up with it. Moves it right back out to Reed. And he will send it into the Buffalo zone. And Reed not feeling well, did not participate in the skate this morning, but felt better as today went along. And after Jason Atkinson was called up, decided that Reed could go. So he's in, and Atkinson sitting this one out after making the drive to Buffalo today. Pass ahead to Pierre-Edouard Bellemare for a shot that's gloved by Neuvirth, and no further play. Well, this is the first meeting of the season between these teams. They certainly have seen a lot of each other in the past, as this is the 165th overall meeting. Home teams have done very well in this series of late. And the Flyers, they swept the series last year, winning all 3 games from Buffalo, and they won 8 of their last 10 against the Sabres.
Flyers played twice here this season. They'll be back in the middle of February. And Craig Berube throws his top line guys out for the offensive zone face-off, and Claude Giroux just can't come up with it.
The Sabres will move up. Georges with a pass that is tipped into the Philadelphia zone by Brian Flynn. Tyler Myers, the defenseman, up in the forecheck. Jurgensen's is there as well. The Flyers, they'll get the puck and move up with an opportunity on the rush. Here's Braden Shen in across the line. Shen looking to the middle, fires, and that goes off the stick of Georges and out of play. Let's head down ice level inside the glass for the first time to Chris Therien.
Thanks very much, guys. You know, Buffalo is trying to look for something positive from their season. I think one of the neat stories this year has been the rise of Zemgus Girgensons, guys, the Latvian-born player, the only one in the NHL. But you know what? Led all vote-getters in the All-Star game tally. He'll be starting in Columbus. Numbers are not terrific, but they are here in a team in Buffalo that struggled mightily. So we're excited about him, and it's a pretty cool story.
What they really like about him is his two-way play. He's good at both ends of the ice. Could be a shutdown center, also can contribute offensively. That puck finds its way to the blue paint, and Rob Zepp decides to cover up. Well, the face-off in the Philadelphia zone.
It's been a very, very good story, though, Girgensson. You know what, guys, you're right. He plays up and down the ice, and a guy right now that's having trouble finding productivity. You know, most of the time you'd say a guy with those kind of numbers would have 30 points on a bad team, but all the votes from Latvia, that to me is a great, great story. You'll see the regular names, right? Taves, Kane, Girgensons.
Yeah, he fits right in with him. There's a shot that goes high and wide. Yeah, you can always say he has more votes. He's more popular than Sidney Crosby and Kane and all those guys.
Yeah.
Wayne Simmons, nice move, and it's out to center ice. And to move on in, but the puck just rolls to Neuvirth. And he covers up. Ted Nolan, second stint behind the bench here in Buffalo, took over last year. And he coached the Latvian Olympic team last year. Girgensson was part of that mix.
They had a heck of a game against Canada, too. They almost beat them. Sandis Ozolinsh was chasing guys around the ice surface as well. There was a few names playing in the Olympics that had played in the NHL in the past. And if I remember correctly, they ran a face-off play where they pushed a guy out of their own player bench and scored on a breakaway.
They did, Jonesy.
That's how they scored their only goal against Canada.
Kept it interesting for a while.
Godlewski's the goaltender. Unbelievable in that game. Tampa Bay property.
Up against Yzerman's Team Canada.
That's right. He almost gave his general manager a real problem. There's Mark Sprite turning with the puck. Tried to go cross ice. It's knocked down. Brian Flynn into the Philadelphia zone. Though looks back to the point, but the Sabres were changing defense. But now he just flings one off a stick into the slot. Backhander block. Another try. Blocked in front as well. Back out to the point, and that shot by Straka is knocked down in front and cleared to the slot and then chipped, but not out of the zone by Couturier. So the Sabres stay in the Philadelphia end. Stewart along the wall. Back to Flynn behind the net. Here's it back up to Tyson Strachan. He played across ice, and that shot ends up off a stick and into the safety netting. Peter Zoroff, the defenseman.
Craig Berube putting R.J. Umberger on a line with Sean Couturier and Wayne Simmons for this game. And Matt Reed actually on that last shift was on the ice with Sean Couturier for a shift, so not sure if that was a quick line change or not, but Craig Berube changes things quickly, and Giroux comes back out with his line mates with the defensive zone face-off.
The original plan has all of the lines except for Pierre Belmar's line changed from the last game, but we'll see how long they stick with it. The original plan did not include Matt Reed.
Exactly.
Here's Matt Ellis. Giving the puck to Coletta, and he's able to chop it past Del Zotto out to the neutral zone. Just about 5 minutes in. Glad you could join us from Buffalo. First Niagara Center. And play called there on a hand pass in the neutral zone.
Choppy start to this one. And the Buffalo Sabres have spent the majority of the time in the Flyers zone. Philadelphia wants to change that in a hurry here and start getting their legs going. One way to do that is get in on the forecheck, throw the body around a little bit, and you can't overlook a team like the Buffalo Sabres, especially when you haven't scored in your last couple of games.
Yeah, and Buffalo coming off a 7-0 home loss. I don't care how you are, where you are in the standings, you're going to come out with a bigger edge and a more competitive edge the next game out, and that's what you're probably going to see here.
Elo Koliakovo with a shot that deflects and goes wide of the Buffalo net. Belmar going to get to it. Cavalier trying to fight off a check behind the net. Neil Cavalier, good share of goals against this Buffalo team through his career, but his pass knocked down, and Buffalo clears it all the way down the ice. It bounces to the right of Zepp. Donald didn't see it right away. Now by the time he does, he's swarmed upon by Molson and Ennis. With some help from Belmar, who moves the puck along the board. Now Belmar will slip it back to McDonald. They're still looking for their first shot on goal in this game. They misfire on this pass, though, and icing is the call again.
Wobbling puck there, and Andrew McDonald trying to make a simple pass. Let it bounce over the stick of Belmar all the way down for another defensive zone face-off, and Buffalo comes out with Girgensons, and will try to get one of their better offensive players on the face-off here. He's playing with Chris Stewart and Brian Flynn in this one.
Chris Stewart, guy who's a couple of 28-goal seasons to his credit, and rediscover his game here in Buffalo as the Flyers try to get the puck here, but Sabres battling hard along the boards. Finally, the Flyers do have it. McDonald will move it ahead. Andevelde couldn't do anything with that. Buffalo has it back. There is Stewart wearing uniform number 80. He'll twist it into the Philadelphia zone. Zepp out. And the Flyers try to move up. Belmar checked right in the slot area, able to come away with it. And now the outlet to Simmons. Wayne Simmons up the right wing. A quick shot. Save. Neuvert. Puck bounces high in the air. Simmons got to it, but it went off his skate to the boards. Back out to Nick Schultz. Schultz right back to Simmons. Now Simmons out near the blue line with it. Turns and fires his shot deflected to the corner. Strite was in deep. Couldn't get there. And it's moved out to center by Flynn. Flyers will get it back there, although they misfire in a pass, and so they'll have to go all the way back behind their own net. Just 3 shots here early, 2 for Buffalo, 1 for Philadelphia. We approach the 7-minute mark of this first period. And now the Sabres getting to the puck. Stafford turning, firing, save made by Zepp. It was redirected by Cody Otson in front. Zepp makes the save. Now Voracek back the other way to cross the line. Slows down, waits and fires, blocked. Second try, blocked as well. And the Sabres get it back, and Tyler Myers will move it ahead and out to the neutral zone. Zotto has it there. It's a cutting Giroux's check. Voracek trying to carry on. He lost it, and it's kicked out to the blue line by the Sabres. But the Flyers get it back. Here's Schenn in the slot. Voracek, and that shot went high and off the glass. He's got it back in the corner, looking for Giroux, but it's broken up. And now Hudson moves the other way from the red line. Will wind it into the Philadelphia zone. Zepp, a good job stopping that puck, and Del Zotto moving on the right wing for Giroux in the middle. Umberger will just bounce one deep into the Buffalo, and Umberger back after it. Braden Schenn is there as well. Schenn to the puck, all the way out to the line. It got out to center, and it's brought back in offside. Early on in Buffalo, no score.
Eight minutes into the first period, Flyers just 1 shot on goal. Rob Zepp has faced 3 from the Buffalo Sabres. A couple of testers that Buffalo has got towards the net. Good help in the rebound department for Zepp, as his teammates have got to a couple of loose pucks in and around the crease, including this one by Jake Voracek, who reached back and grabbed that one. There's the bio for Rob Zepp. Scarborough, Ontario, just about an hour and 20 minutes away from here in Buffalo. 6'1", 194, and of course his first National Hockey League season at the age of 33.
The way you say an hour and 20 minutes away, it's like you almost were there.
Yeah, I know the area well.
Buffalo, of course, right near the border to Canada. Good crowd on hand here for this game. The Sabres fans have been, listen to what the players say, unbelievably patient with the struggles of their team.
There's not an empty seat in the house, really. I mean, it is packed here.
Battle for the puck in the Philadelphia zone, and that goes out of play, so the whistle.
Well, you can shake up your work week with the all-new Bud Light Tuesday Night Pack. Enjoy a ticket to a select Tuesday night game, a Dietz and Watson hot dog, and a 24-ounce beverage starting at just $55 at PhiladelphiaFlyers.com. Check it out. Terrific deal and a chance to stop in Philly and watch a game. We got a lot of Flyer fans here in Buffalo, and a big reason why this place is full.
Sabres win the draw. Shot by Zadorov is blocked. Olsen gets it back and finds Ennis. And behind that open for Torrey Mitchell. He was tied up nicely there by Del Zotto, and the Flyers move the puck along the wall, not out of the zone. Luke Schenn does pump it out to center. There's Reed. Matt Reed stopped right at the line, and two Sabres collide. Mitchell and Ennis. Ennis looks shaken up. Flyers back the other way. Reed, a shot that's blocked. Second try goes off. Neuvirth's stick right into the slot area and then up into the air and to the boards and back the other way. Goes Stewart with the puck. Stewart faking the shot, taking it wide and then firing. Saves Zepp. Had trouble controlling the rebound, and it's back out to the point. Just line in a shot, and that's knocked aside in front all the way out to Couturier. And Couturier will just backhand into the Buffalo zone.
Tyler Ennis looks like he's going to be all right. He's kind of standing on the Sabres bench, kind of moving around a little bit, making sure everything's A-okay. And now he gets up and actually walks behind the bench, so he may not be feeling too good. Looks like he's going to leave the bench and head into the locker room, or he'll be taking a look at in a quiet room.
Quite a collision.
He bumped his head there in front of you, Chris.
Yeah, that was a heck of a collision, guys. There's both. One guy was swinging with the puck, and they ran right into each other. Ennis is a guy who's smaller of the two. That ends up being on the far side. Two guys just really going full speed, and that's nothing they could do except run into each other.
Torrey Mitchell.
Yeah, was the other guy.
So the Flyers win the draw, and there's a shot toward the net. Schenn trying to deflect that one in, but he was tied up. Landon. And Schenn battling. The puck bounces free all the way out to Nick Schultz. Schultz gets some room around behind the net and then back out to the point. Flyers set up in the offensive zone. Voracek into the slot. Redirection try by Schultz. Knocked aside. Neuvirth decides to jump on top of the puck.
Room down low in the Buffalo Sabres zone. A good read by Nick Schultz to take some of that ice that he was given. And the Flyers will look to try to do a little bit more of that here against the Sabres team that lacks a lot of confidence in their own zone.
Here's our Jeep Trivia question for tonight. The only season beside the 74-75 season that Buffalo has played in the Stanley Cup Final would be 82-83, 98-99, or 2006-2007. Of course, 74-75. They went up against the Flyers. Flyers took their second Stanley Cup, winning it here in Buffalo. Here's Zach Rinaldo to the puck. Rinaldo firing that one in. There's the stick save. And Simmons to it. Tried to get that through to Raffl, but it was broken up. And now the battle along the boards. Jacobo getting a stick in there. Raffl. Nobody can get control of the puck as they continue to scrum in a tight area. Finally, Buffalo, Patrick Kaleta get it to the line. Well, Jacobo kept it in. Now it's pushed back out to the neutral zone. They're on it at their own line. Another Sabre goes down. This is Kaleta. He's slow getting up, and this is going to be an interference penalty against Philadelphia. So the first power play of the game belongs to Buffalo. We'll look at it when we come back.
Patrick Kaleta back on the Sabres bench on the left-hand side there. Michael Raffl across the ice in the penalty box after this collision. Raffl looking the other way, and Kaleta runs into him. Both players looking for the puck, and Raffl gets the penalty.
I'm not sure what they were looking at, Jonesy, but Kaleta either sold it. There's no way neither guy looked at each other. There's no eye contact made by Kaleta or by Raffl. The two ended up on the seat of their pants, and that ended up being Kaleta. They called it on Raffl.
So Buffalo with the game's first power play. Flyers win the defensive zone draw and clear it all the way down the ice. Interference the call. Something has to give as you look at the numbers. Flyers with the First penalty killing in the NHL, and the Sabres, the bottom-ranked power play. Good work here by the Flyers on the kill. They get the puck out into the slot for a shot. However, makes the save. The puck bounces right near him, and he'll cover up as Nick Schultz will sneak in from the line there, and the Flyers with some good work along the boards get a shorthanded chance.
Belmar doing a terrific job of keeping the Buffalo Sabres hemmed up in their own end. 3 Sabres trying to get it. Giroux waits patiently, finds it, and Nick Schultz in a good position to fire that shot.
Yeah, an excellent job by Belmar. You're right, Jonesy. And then that good shot by Schultz, that was going under the bar had Neuvirth not gotten his glove on it. That's an excellent way to start the penalty kill.
And the Flyers win another draw, and Schultz will ram that one back deep into the Buffalo zone, and the Flyers come up with the puck again. That's Sean Couturier. He'll just push it back deeper into the Buffalo zone. So 45 seconds into the power play, and the Sabres haven't had the puck in their possession past the red line yet. They will do so. Oh, they won't, as Myers could not control that pass. The Flyers move back. Here's Reed. Reed stripped by Myers from behind. And now the Sabres will try to organize as the fans a little restless. Here's Myers to the Philadelphia line. Around behind the Philadelphia net. And the Flyers again with good work get to the puck and clear it all the way down. 40 seconds remaining on the power play. Brian Flynn is checked, gets back to the puck. And now we'll pivot. Finds Stewart at the Philadelphia line. He wheels back. Stays right along the line and then finally penetrates the zone, but lost control. McDonald waits, winds, and fires it all the way down the ice. Time for one more push toward the Philadelphia zone on this power play for Buffalo. And they move with speed in across the line. Stafford checked just as soon as he got the puck. Is able to dump it down low. Zepp cutting it off. Turned it over to Stewart behind the net, trying to center. The Flyers with active sticks break up that pass. It goes back out. Now Zadorov played across ice. The pass back to Zadorov is tipped and then batted down the ice. Raffl can't play this. It'll be a hand pass, and there's the whistle. Hand pass as Giroux had batted that puck all the way down. But the Flyers a good job on the penalty kill. When you talk about good job on the penalty kill, you think of one Kimmo Timonen, who of course was outstanding both on the power play and the penalty kill. He had his test done and got the news today, and his blood clots in his lungs have cleared, which is good news. Still though, one clot in his leg remaining, and so still on the long-term IR. He's going to have a consult with the doctors and Jim McCrossin on Wednesday to determine his plan of action, but certainly we said all our best to Kimmo. Getting better. I'm sure he wishes that they were all gone and he could try to get in some hockey this year, but the most important thing is his health. Yeah, and so does his head coach, and so do his teammates. You can see how much he means, especially the way the Flyers penalty kill has been affected by Kimmo Timonen's absence, and such a calming influence back there that we're all thinking of him and miss watching him out there in a Flyers uniform. He was awarded the Good Guy Award by the Philadelphia Sports Writers at their banquet last night as Neuvirth scoops up that puck, and certainly couldn't be a better choice for that than Kimmo Timonen. Check out the CSN Philly mobile app. Get breaking news and analysis from our insiders, plus video, scores, schedules, and more. Visit csnphilly.com/app and download today. You know, speaking of blood clots, the Sabres are without Cody McCormick as he has developed a blood clot and has to be sitting out now. Yeah, big, tough kid, tough customer that they allowed to go away for a little while last year and then got him back as a free agent. And unfortunately, we're going to be without his services. He's one of those guys that is an in-your-face type player that'll fight this with all he has as well. Seems as though we're seeing more instances, though, of the blood clots now here over the last year or two. And yeah, that's something that you have to be so careful with. Big hit in center ice there by Schenn. The Flyers get the puck. Zepp will try to get it past Stafford. Could not. It bounces back. Luke Schenn reaching for it. And now the puck bounces free. Flyers have it. Giroux dropping it off for Luke. Luke Schenn will get to Delzato. Now Delzato to Claude Giroux. He's got some room to work with it across the line. Drops it for Schenn around one. Takes the shot, blocked off. Sabres look to break back in transition. Myers ahead. Now Flynn a pass that could not be handled. It bounces all the way to Zepp. He's going to cover up with Girgensons coming his way. Now let's look at the scratches from the lineups here tonight. The Flyers unfortunately have a list that seems to be growing. They thought they were going to lose Reed to this list today, but did not. But Mason, Coburn, Lawton, Grossman, Timonen all injured. And the Sabres without Brian Giunta due to injuries, due back anytime now. They may wait till after the All-Star break as he comes back from an upper body injury that some feel might be a concussion.
And Tyler Ennis early in the game up the tunnel for Buffalo.
He's their leading scorer, and try to get word on his situation, but it certainly looked as though he was dazed.
You can tell the Sabres missed Giunta quite a bit. They did have a string of games where they went 10-3. Giunta was a big part of that, and once he went down to injury, it's tough for a leader like that out of the locker room to kind of bring things back together, and it seems like some of that has affected the Buffalo Sabres in this last stretch.
They brought in some veterans, Giunta one of them, Molson another, Georges, to try to help settle their youngsters in hopes that they'd be an improved team from last year, but they are right about an exact spot record-wise where they were this time last year, although, as you say, a very interesting route to that record. We're not going to get a chance to show you that later on in this telecast. It's been a strange season, almost 3 seasons within one for the Buffalo Sabres, even though we've only played basically half of a complete year. Flyers back in their zone. Kolyakova will try the other side of the ice. Broken up by Coletta. He's obviously okay. It's a Matt Ellis. Ellis checked by Kolyakova. Umberger there, and fumbled the puck away on a second try. Swats at it, couldn't clear the zone. The Flyers have to go back and get it. Kolyakova takes a hit as he made the play to McDonald. Now it's Matt Reed. Checked. Couturier not ready for that puck to come his way now. Has to recover and does so as he just sifts that one back into the Buffalo zone. The Sabres were back and ready for that. Then Benoit. Now this one sent high in the air out to the neutral zone. That's the feet of Matt Molson. He'll wind it into the Philadelphia zone. It skips toward Delzato. He'll just clear it out to center ice. 6 shots for Buffalo, 4 for the Flyers. Less than 4.5 remaining in period number 1. Tyler Myers, the Calder Trophy winner, will backhand into the Philadelphia zone. Myers is going in after it. Luke Schenn, his buddy, beats him to it. Their junior teammates. They're together 1 year and remain close. Work out in the offseason together. Is Michael Raffl moving up. Raffl checked at the Buffalo line. And there's Ennis back out on the ice for Buffalo, so he's okay. He tips the puck further to the neutral zone. Now the Sabres have it back. And that one ends up touching something over there. Play is called. We'll be back.
Welcome back to Buffalo, New York. Time to take a look at our Chevy player profile of this hockey game, and it is Philadelphia Flyers Matt Reed. You can see his numbers right there against Buffalo. 5 goals, 3 assists in 9 games. Those are good numbers. He's had success here. Anytime you get over a goal every couple games against the same team, it means you've clearly had success against him. Matt Reed not feeling well today, but back in this hockey game and got some rest obviously through today and well prepared to go tonight.
Matt, along with many of his teammates, trying to find their offensive game. It's been 17 games without a goal for Matt, although he said physically, outside of the flu, of course, physically he's been feeling better of late. As he had revealed to some reporters, he had an high ankle sprain that he was dealing with for much of the first half of the season. Jake Voracek trying to sidestep a hit. As Tyler Myers over to get the puck. Now the Sabres will move it out in center. They're trying to get to it at the Philadelphia line. Schultz gives him a bump. Is checked and Voracek roars back the other way. 3-on-2 developing. His pass for Schenn. Schenn turned back on the board. Still centers. And it went through Giroux all the way to Streit. Giroux may have been trying to make a pass or thought Streit was in a better position to handle that pass. Now back out the shot. And over at the save is again Nick Schultz, aggressive and firing away.
Getting the shot past blockers and getting both shots that he's had in this period through to the net.
And here's a shot by Stewart as he took the alley-oop pass out of the neutral zone, but it went high and wide. Strike through it for Philadelphia, tied for 4th among all defensemen in the NHL in points. Banked it ahead. Braden Schenn could not come up with it. Ristolainen will. Zadorov and out through center. A young defense pair. Ristolainen and Zadorov. Ristolainen 20. Zadorov 19. Not often you'll see 2 players that young paired together on defense.
It'll be interesting to see him in about 5 or 6 years.
Yes.
Because both of them look like they've got promising National Hockey League futures.
Flyers moving up, and they look good here as Bellemare has the puck. Bellemare to the Cavalier for the shot, and it glanced off of Neuvert into the corner. Flyers had numbers there, and the Cavalier were afraid to take the shot. Want him taking the shot, but would not go. Flyers have come back to tie up Buffalo in shots on goal. It's 6-6. Sabres have had tremendous difficulty in the first period this year. They've been outscored 40-15 in the first period. So if they can get through a first period even, they'll be happy.
Those are tough numbers to work with, Jimmy, for sure.
Ball behind that offense.
It's a nightmare.
Yeah. There's Ennis moving the puck to the middle of Mitchell and then right back to Ennis. Ennis, this thing going around behind the Philadelphia net, out the other side, turns, centers, it comes across, Flyers intercept, but do not clear the zone. Point shot by Strachan is knocked down, and now the Flyers, Umberger is able to backhand to the neutral zone, sent right back in by Buffalo. And Olsen first to it. Some rough treatment there by Delzato, and the Flyers come away with the puck. Shed across. Wayne Simmons will get it as far as the Buffalo line. Georges cross ice to Tyler Myers, and now Georges moves it ahead to Brian Flynn. And just backhanding that slides to Zepp, and he'll take the puck in and make the faceoff in his own zone.
Well, let the Flyers jumpstart your weekend with the Xfinity Live Thursday night pack. Get a ticket to a select Thursday game, a free pregame appetizer and postgame beverage, plus a $10 gift card. All at Xfinity Live on the night of the game, starting at $55. A great way to get out and watch your favorite team play.
Sabres get the puck to the slot for shot. They score! Zemgus Girgensson taking the shot. Zepp appeared startled. And the Buffalo Sabres get the first one. It's 1-0. Just over a minute to go here in period number one. Team leading 12th of the year for Girgensson.
Offensive zone face-off win, and the Sabres managed to get it to Girgensson, who fires it quickly there, and not sure if it touched off of a body in front or not, but yeah, the quick shot from a long way out gets past Rob Zepp.
That's what happened. He just got Zepp handcuffed. Quick shot. That's what made the difference on it, Jones. He didn't hold it. Just snapped it, and it knuckled. It looked like it kind of hooked in almost. And Zepp caught off guard. 1-0 Buffalo.
The Sabres with a chance to lead after the first period. Flyers will try to prevent that here in the final 55 seconds. Simmons pumps it into Buffalo ice, gets to it, looks for Raffl. It's kept away from him by Myers. Nick Schultz checked along the boards by Coletta, who backhands it all the way down the ice. And this will be icing against Buffalo.
There's the goal scorer there that gives the Buffalo Sabres the 1-0 lead. And Craig Berube quick to throw out Giroux's line here for the offensive zone face-off, and the Flyers will try to get even here before this first period ends. Buffalo has had the better of the offensive chances, and they end up capitalizing.
Girgensson's 12th of the year. He said that leads the team. He's the only Sabre double figures. Delzato centering the shot by Giroux. Rejected in front. Flyers get it back. Voracek fires, and that's blocked out high by Ellis and out of play.
Got a dangerous team in Buffalo. We're going to have a look here again and see if this ended up hitting a Flyer player. And the shot's taken quickly. You know, I don't know, guys. It was off that it would have been off the right side of Nick Schultz, the left side of your screen here.
There's Schultz in front, shot. 55 in white, and then it looks like it does touch him. Yep. What's the reaction of Schultz as he looks skyward at the end of it? And that's usually an indication that it may have touched the defenseman, but not 100% sure on that one.
You think you'd screen him, but that's too far out there to screen him.
Stopped by Neuvert. Now back out at center ice. Here is Voracek. 20 seconds left in period number one. Luke Schenn is checked by Ennis, who steals the puck. Now the Flyers get to it, and Giroux will just lift it out of the zone. Down the ice it goes. Sabres are on it. They turn it over. A quick shot by Schenn deflects and goes wide. Buffalo getting the puck up and out to center ice, and that's how period number one comes to an end. Zemgus Girgensson, the only goal scorer here in period number one. And the Sabres with a 1-0 lead through 20 minutes. Tonight's Flyers Sabres first period was brought to you by Kia. To learn more, visit kia.com. And by Rothman Institute at Jefferson, exclusive orthopedic and healthcare provider of the Philadelphia Flyers. Intermission live straight ahead. John Bork and Bill Clements. Brought to you by Mercedes-Benz after this. Tonight's second period from Buffalo is brought to you by your local Delaware Valley Audi dealers and legendary Audi Quattro all-wheel drive, the world's top-selling luxury all-wheel drive system. By McDonald's. Any size hot or iced coffee is just $1. McDonald's, I'm loving it. And by Cure Auto Insurance, drive well. Sabres with a 1-0 lead through 20 minutes. Here are the statistics brought to you by Rothman Institute at Jefferson.
Flyers just 7 shots on goal, 8 of them scoring chances. Sabres blocked 9 shots. Flyers just 4 face-offs. The Sabres with the edge in that department. They end up scoring their only goal off a face-off play in the offensive zone.
And that is the goal scorer. Zemgus Girgensons, his 12th of the year from Stewart and Flynn at 18:51. GMC NHL update takes you to Montreal. The Islanders, next opponent for the Flyers, in Montreal to take on the Canadiens. The Canadiens get the jump in this one. PK Subban with a one-timer. And it's 1-0 Montreal over those red-hot Islanders who had a huge win last night against Pittsburgh. Paolo Poso, a natural hat trick, part of a 4-goal game. And the Flyers get both the Penguins and the Islanders after their game against the Sabres here tonight.
2 games playing some very good hockey, and the Flyers don't want to let this game slip past them against a Buffalo Sabres team that had a strong first period. And you can see the Flyers record when trailing after the first 2-16-2. So time to get going here. They didn't draw any penalties in the first period, and tough for your offensive players to get some confidence with the puck if they don't get the opportunities with the man advantage.
Yeah, I talked to Joe Mullen before the game. You know what he said, guys? This game comes down to work when he's assistant coaches for the Flyers. If the Flyers are willing to pay the price and put the work in, they're going to have a great chance to win the game. They did not work as hard as they would have liked in that first period.
So we get set for the start of the second period underway. The Flyers control even strength hockey. As we get underway in the second, just had 1 penalty in the first. Molson clearing the zone. Down the ice it goes. Del Zotto races over to get to it for Philadelphia. Bank it ahead for Voracek. Jake is unable to maneuver it out of the zone. And it's twisted back down low. Zepp will set it up there for Luke Schenn. On for Voracek. Trying to send Giroux out, but stopped by Ennis. And to the other side of the ice, Braden Schenn will maneuver it out to the neutral zone, but Buffalo has it right back. There's Josh Gorges, who as usual is blocking a ton of shots this year. He's second in the NHL in blocks. There's have it back as Luke Schenn will go across. Put up by Del Zotto into skates right at the Buffalo line. It comes up and hits Umberger in the face, and then the play is called on an offside. RJ
shaking it off there at his hand up to his face right at the Buffalo Sabres blue line. The puck's going to be poked right there. 2 players push that puck up in the air. Girgensons one of them.
A little grazed right there, but still enough that shakes you up. You get a puck. RJ's fine and ready to go.
RJ has some memories of this building that are not all that fond. Remember that big hit he took from Brian Campbell in the playoffs?
I do. Yeah, right at the defensive zone blue line as he was trying to exit the zone. And had a...
That was here. It wasn't in Philly, right?
It was. On the board, Couturier. Gets help from Matt Reed. And now it bounces around to the other side of the ice. Back it over there. Flyers trying to find the puck on the forecheck. It's difficult for them to do, and Reed does. Goes to Couturier. Couturier to the side of the net and back out to the point. Streit moves to the middle and then deals to the other side of the ice, and the shot's deflected wide. Again, Nick Schultz looking to fire the puck. Streit has it again. It's passed to Ronaldo. Back Ronaldo. Checked from behind by Straka. The puck into the corner. Couturier keeps the legs moving, but and a penalty will be called. Girgensons will go, and it was drawn by Couturier, keeping those legs moving, and perhaps another penalty right there as Strachan got a hold of a Flyer, but the whistle blows. It appears he'll So there'll be just one penalty called. Steve Kazari, Mike Lego, by the way, the referees here tonight.
Let's take a look at our Geico quote of the game. And here's Mark Streit talking about how you maintain perspective of a season that's been a rough start. And I think what he's trying to say here, guys, as you read it, is that, you know what, we're all professionals. We all have to come to work every night, be prepared to go out and try to win hockey games, and forget about what goes on in the standings. I think that's well put by Mark Streit. That is the Geico quote of the game.
Flyers get their first power play. Girgensons off for holding. Flyers immediately set up, but Giroux's pass for Simmons is tipped. Giroux gets to it, and the Flyers recapture as Streit moves to the middle of the ice. Deals to Voracek. Voracek in front. Redirection try by Schenn goes wide. There's some net to find there, but the puck went wide. Here's Streit again. For Voracek. Back across Giroux. Giroux holds. Back to Streit for the shot. Blocked in front. Tyler Myers races over. Giroux. A little maneuver around him and try to get the pass through, but Myers ends up with it. And he'll move it ahead. And Paletta will just push that one deeper to Philadelphia ice. Overall numbers, the Flyers power play still in the top third of the NHL, 6th ranked. And the penalty kill, another problem area for the Sabres, 3rd from the bottom. Here's Voracek. Down low, Simmons. Simmons rotating out with it to the slot. The shot! Neuvert the save. And no further play.
Just able to squeeze that shot. It was Wayne Simmons making a strong power move towards the net. And the snapshot quickly fired towards the net. Voracek makes a nice play down low. Giroux had changed quickly on this power play and headed to the Flyers bench. And Simmons was walking across in Giroux's normal spot.
It's a good play by Simmons, too. And again, Schenn just going to the front of that net. He drags Strachan with him. Good try by Simmons.
Matt Reed to the puck as the power play continues. 50 seconds remaining on it. Stumbling there and ending up losing the puck was Umberger. Flyers get it back. Nice move. The line. Del Zotto his pass. Goes toward the boards. LeCavalier has it. Back to Del Zotto. Now Reed. Playing catch with Del Zotto. Cross ice. LeCavalier, the one-time rocket, but it goes off of glass and all the way out of the zone. Zotto back to retrieve. Starts back with it. Couturier will roll it in along the wall. Umberger tips the puck. LeCavalier protects. Finds Del Zotto. Cross ice shot. Reed. They score! Appeared to deflect in front. But the power play for the Flyers ties the game. R.J. Umberger was in the vicinity. We'll see if he got a piece of it. But they get it past Neuvert. And the Flyers tie the game at 1 as they score for a case of Tasty Cake. They get their first goal in a while.
It's Umberger in front, and it's the shot there from Matt Reed. R.J. Umberger has his hands up in the air quickly. Reed does a nice job with the one-timer, and the pass from Del Zotto's right in the wheelhouse. Have to see if Umberger got a piece of it or not.
I thought it went off R.J. I thought it hit the top of his stick and bounced upwards, but you can see the bench pretty excited. Giroux happy that second power play got things going for them and got a tie game and a fresh start here. It's a good power play goal.
After 8 scoreless periods, the Flyers on the board. They have this game deadline. Myers and after the puck, Flyers get it past him. They have numbers moving through center, but can't come up with that pass. So Bellemare just trying to clear it in, and that one ends up going off of George's back to Philadelphia ice. Flyers had that 5-goal blitz against Tampa Bay in the second period of the game on Monday, and then didn't score for the next 8 periods. Sort of incredible when you think about it. Offside, they call the Buffalo line. Tampa Bay is a good defensive club. They basically pummeled them and then went 2+ games without another one.
Yeah, Capitals game was a good game, both ends of the ice. They just couldn't get the puck past Braden Holtby. They had some A-quality opportunities, not a lot against Vancouver, and they were a pretty frustrated club after that game. Buffalo frustrated them in the first period, but they do a good job coming out here in the second, getting on the power play and moving the puck around a little bit and end up picking up the goal.
Still haven't announced who got that goal, either Reed or Umberger. Important thing for the Flyers is they have the tying goal. That puck into the Philadelphia bench. Get another look, and maybe we can determine if RJ gets this puck.
There's the shot. There's Umberger's stick right there. He, without question, gets a piece of it there. The blade is able to make contact.
No doubt about it. Upstairs, because I think that might have hit the blocker of Neuvert had it not. But RJ getting the redirection, his 8th goal of the season. That's a Good place to be hanging out in front of the net right there. He's well positioned. Took the eyes of the goalie away, but stick was still at a vantage point to get the redirection. It's well done by Umberger.
3:51 the time of power play tally for RJ. I think his memories is building a little better.
That's right. Yeah.
Goes off a stick and out of play and to the crowd. Almost 5 minutes into this second period.
Braden Shen going after Torrey Mitchell there, and then Strachan comes in. Giroux and Torrey Mitchell were having some words previously. Now Torrey Mitchell trying to plead his case to Giroux, and Braden Shen was going over there to make sure that Mitchell didn't have too much to say to Giroux on that last play.
Braden Shen has been feisty the last couple 2 or 3 games.
When you play with a star player like Giroux, it's a good thing to do. And Braden Shen right over there after Torrey Mitchell attracts the attention of a couple of the Buffalo Sabres on the ice.
Calm restored. They'll face it off right at center ice.
It looked like Giroux and Mitchell worked things out before the end of that altercation. They were both talking to each other, and apparently Mitchell was apologizing for something that happened previously on that shift.
The auction sending that one all the way down the ice. No icing though. The Flyers will play it. Here's Luke Shen to Wayne Simmons. Now in the middle for Raffl. Drops it back off for Simmons. In across the line. Wayne Simmons wide to the right wing. The shot. St. Norbert rebound out in front. Ronaldo fires, and that one off the stick. And then the glass behind the net. Flyers get it back as they have some energy off of that goal. Raffl centering. Ronaldo went to the net. Let the puck deflect it away and then cleared all the way down. This will be icing against Buffalo. So good energy from the Flyers after that goal.
That goal too, Jimmy, was our power back rehabilitation comeback goal. RJ Umberger, as we just said, Delzato to Reed, shot redirection by RJ. That tied the game up, and it also is the comeback, power back rehabilitation comeback goal of the game.
Sabres win this draw and move out 3-on-2. Right at the blue line. Puck deflects and hits something on the Buffalo bench, and so play halted.
Off a Flyers stick there, so the face-off will come all the way down deep in the Flyers zone. And Philadelphia forced to take this defensive zone face-off. Sean Couturier out there. We'll try to pull it back.
And he is able to get the puck to Koliakovo, but he's bodied by Kaleta. Flyers still recover it, though. And McDonald. And that through RJ Umberger, and now Matt Reed. Forcing that puck deeper to Buffalo ice. Ellis will drop it back. Flyers are there. Quick pass. Snuffed out by Georges, and he clears. And that one down into the Philadelphia zone. Right back out off Umberger. And now Couturier gains the Buffalo line. Just feathers the puck deep. And then sends it around to the other side of the ice. Tyler Myers is there, the ice time leader for the Sabres. They've been playing some pretty solid hockey about midpoint of last year. Numbers so bad for Buffalo, it's tough to judge how any individual is playing because the numbers are basically dragged down by the team performance.
Especially if you're out there as much as a guy like Tyler Myers.
There's a hit in center. Couturier didn't like that hit on Umberger, and he goes to the defense of his teammate, and he's got a hold of a tough customer in Chris Stewart. The linesmen are sort of in there. Stewart's still throwing punches, but Chris Stewart, he can throw them.
Good job by Sean Couturier getting in there and dropping his gloves with a tough customer in Chris Stewart. Flyers showing some fight here in the second period. Have got things even up at 1-1.
We'll step aside at Reed. Shot deflected by RJ Umberger, and the Flyers have tied the game at 1.
Tied up at 1 here. Watch the high rising puck. Umberger goes to play it. Chris Stewart hits him before the puck gets there. Gets an interference penalty for that. And then Sean Couturier does a nice job. Didn't like that play. Jumped in and dropped the gloves with a tough customer and Chris Stewart. Both players get roughing minors as well. So Stewart gets a total of 4 minutes in the box. Couturier 2, and the Flyers head to the power play.
And they just got their first goal on the man advantage. Can't find the puck here, but Mitchell sends it out of play into the Buffalo bench.
That was close to going right out of the rink, and that would have been a 5-on-3 power play, but it caught the bench. Get your tickets to the Flyers Wives Carnival coming up on Sunday, March the 1st. Here's your chance to meet the Flyers. Take photos with your favorite players, collect autographs, and play interactive games, all to support a great cause.
Voracek shot here deflects and goes to the corner. Giroux behind the net. Simmons there by Myers. Flyers work the puck free though to Giroux. The power play gets set up straight at the point. Flipping one, deflected but went wide. Bounces out to Voracek. Twisted down low. Simmons trying to keep Georges away from it. Sabres though get there, and Girgensons will send it all the way down the ice. Flyers try to take their first lead of the game. Giroux, second in the league in power play points, goes across ice. Schenn back out. Straight across. Voracek one-timer save. Neuvert. The puck was in the slot. The Sabres, good job of clearing it out of harm's way. Giroux will keep it in. Backhands to Schenn. Schenn on the wall. Nice maneuvering there to get it back out. Straight across to Voracek. Now in the middle, Mark Streit. Feels it. Giroux for the shot. Knocked down in front. Giroux gets it back. Looks and finds Schenn, but Schenn decides to go back to the point. Streit hustles over to keep it in. Across to Voracek. Back across ice for Giroux. And now it's Streit with the room. He'll wind and fire. Score! Simmons upon. Streit fires away, and the Flyers power play on the board again, and it's 2-1 Flyers as they score for a case of Tasty Cake.
Double screen in front. Brayden Schenn also there around the hash mark. Simmons down low and tight, and Giroux does a nice job of finding this pocket on the backhand, sliding it around Kaleta right to Mark Streit. There's the shot from the point, and it looks like it goes straight in. So Streit celebrates, but all of it's about the screen in front.
I would have thought if it hit anybody, it hit Brayden Schenn, but I think it ended up going straight in. It did not hit Simmons from the angle I saw, and the replay doesn't show it at all, but good shot by Streit, and it was the eyes taken away at Neuvert again that made the difference. So the Flyers have had bodies in front, and that's been why the power play is successful here.
So the Flyers have their first lead of the game thanks to their power play. Streit from Giroux and Voracek is what we're being told. Vandenvelde after the Buckle and Belmar now behind the net. LeCavalier try to get it in front. That's denied, and now the Sabres move back. Torrey Mitchell got it as far as the stick of Delzato. Flagged that one out of midair and sends the Flyers back the other way. Linesman takes the worst of that hit along the wall as Vandenvelde was trying to charge in. Now Georges around behind, out of the reach, and that's hard to do with Tyler Myers. Centering pass LeCavalier to Koliakovo. A shot off the glove of Neuvert. Spun back out through Raffl and down the ice, and they will wave off icing as perhaps Michael got a piece of that. Now McDonald gets it off LeCavalier's stick. Neuvert will play it to the side of his net and turn it over almost to Ronaldo. He got his stick on it, but now Buffalo controls and clears. McDonald hammers it right back in. Rocket after the puck. Barreled into by Simmons. And now ahead it goes to Hodgson. Cross ice past Stafford. Stafford it across the Philadelphia line. Winds it deep. Hodgson to it. And back it goes. Benoit's shot. And that one stopped by Zepp with traffic around him. The Flyers misfiring a pass to the neutral zone. Icing is the result. Tonight at 11, meet 6-year-old Olsen Fisher. Of course, became a YouTube sensation after emphatically refusing a Sidney Crosby jersey at Christmas. Take you behind the scenes of a much better gift, a chance to meet his favorite player, Claude Giroux. That's the Orange Line. Comcast Sportsnet, brought to you by Bradford Whitewater Heaters. Can't get enough of watching that reaction.
It was a beautiful thing. And maybe he'll be watching the game on Tuesday night against the Penguins.
Maybe he'll be there again. You never know.
Yeah.
Raffl sending that one off. Simmons skate and wide. All Flyers in terms of scoring chances here in this second period. They have all 9 of them. And here's Raffl. Cross ice. Shot. Glove save Neuvert. As he has been much busier here in period number 2.
Flyers have done a couple things different in this period. They've been moving their feet in the offensive zone. They've drawn a couple of penalties. They've stayed disciplined. And they've got a lot of pucks towards the net, looking for rebounds and deflections, and provided some good screens in front of Neuvert.
Flyers win an offensive zone draw here. Delzato sent it behind the net. Ristolainen could not come up with it. So it's Reed back into the corner. And Ellis tied up with Couturier. Reed over again, but it gets past him, and a 3-on-2 developing for Buffalo. Flyers trying to get back to even things up. Coletta trying to pass to the middle, broken up and cleared out by Delzato. Sent back into the Philadelphia zone where Luke Schenn gathers. 8-1 of the shots in favor of the Flyers. Here in the second. Ristolainen checked by Reed. Puck to Umberger, sent it across ice. Couturier could not ram it home. Laurendis the other way. Was stopped. The Flyers back the other way. R.J. Umberger with room winds and blast. That's blocked and then jabbed ahead. Ennis to Molson, and he'll just chip it into the Philadelphia zone. Past the midpoint of regulation time. Sabres won in the first. Flyers with 2 here in the second. Schultz ahead to Claude Giroux, and now Reed could not handle that. Molson turns it back the other way. And Molson waiting, is past the flex to Myers. Gloved the shot, rolls in on Zepp. Batted it away, and now it's Voracek spinning it off the wall, plays it, and moves it in the middle to Giroux. Flyers dynamic duo through the middle of the ice. Giroux's poke check. Voracek back after. Giroux has it. Penalty upcoming against Buffalo. Voracek was tied up. The hooking infraction indicated. Another Philadelphia power play when we come back. Back in Buffalo, the number 39, worn by Dominik Hasek, has been retired. It hangs from the rafters here at First Niagara Center. And there's how it got there. The night Tuesday is Dominik Hasek, the Hall of Famer, freshly minted, had his number retired. Nice ceremonies here before the game earlier this week. With a big crowd on hand to honor the Dominator, and he's honored by the current goaltender of the Sabres, Michael Neuvirth. There's images of Dominik Hasek on his mask, of course, from the Czech Republic, where Hasek was and, in fact, still is a legend.
Yeah, won a couple of Stanley Cups with the Detroit Red Wings, who were in town to play the Buffalo Sabres. So,
and a gold medal against Canada.
Yeah.
98.
In Nagano, that's correct.
Flyers to the power play again. Maroney off for hooking, so the Flyers with both of their goals with the man advantage try to add to their tally here, but Streit loses the puck. Girgensons has the shorthanded breakaway. Zepp says no. Rob Zepp with the save, and the Flyers stay on top. And now they look to go back the other way. Giroux up to Voracek. Messes that back behind the net. George is after it. Giroux there. Back to the point. Streit across for Voracek. Voracek drifting in with it. Back out to Streit. Across for Giroux. Back to Streit. One-timer goes wide. It's caught up behind the net. Simmons trying to force it free, but the whistle stops play.
Well, big-time save for Rob Zepp. And the timing couldn't be better. A shorthanded opportunity for the Buffalo Sabres as Mark Streit loses the puck at the blue line. It kind of wobbles on him. Girgensons skates quickly up ice and makes a deke, and Rob Zepp's ready for him. Gets that leg across, gave him very little room to shoot out. Outstanding job from Zepp.
That's really good goaltending by Zepp. You play a guessing game, it's like a shootout. Sometimes you feel you have more momentum in the game than the shootout. And it always, I think, favors the shooter, but Zepp plays that just brilliantly. His 11th save tonight, and I'll tell you what, he's been good, guys. And you know what? We said it before. He's not going to cheat you of an effort out here. That's one thing for sure with Rob Zepp.
Sometimes it's not the quantity of saves, it's the timing and the quality, and certainly that was a huge stop when you look at where we're at in this game. A one-goal game. Flyers have some momentum. That would have stunted it big time. Instead, they remain on the power play with a chance to add to their lead. 45 seconds remaining on the Veroni penalty. They just try to clear here, and that one takes a weird hop. Delzato didn't see it. Hustling back, trying to get to this is Reed. Backhander. Zepp another save. This one off of Flynn. And all the result of Delzato losing sight of it after a crazy carom off the boards. The glass. Now the Flyers are offside at the Buffalo line.
If you lose sight of it, get back. And Delzato didn't. Matt Reed did and helped out Michael Delzato on that play. The puck bounced high up in the air. It was difficult to track, but the Sabres knew where it was and were out flying into the offensive zone. And it's Flynn that gets the backhand chance, but Matt Reed is there to help out defensively.
Time for one more foray in the offensive zone with a power play for the Flyers, although they are taking their time here. 15 seconds left in the man advantage. Delzato to Voracek. Delzato back, and now Delzato has it. Pass to the Buffalo line. I understand we've got some technical difficulties with our feedback to Philadelphia, so we'll do our best describing the action here. As Giroux gets the puck back out to McDonald for a shot from the point that's blocked in front. Power play is over. Team's back to full strength hockey. 6:45 remaining in the second period. Now Myers will send it into the Philadelphia zone. Back behind the net it goes. Checked by McDonald. The pop free in the corner, and the Flyers able to get it ahead. A 3-on-2 develops. On the right wing with the puck is Braden Shen. Shen in the middle. One-time shot. Giroux goes wide. Karam in the shot blocked. And the other side is Delzato couldn't get it through. Now Braden Shen to it again along the wall, far side of the ice near the hash mark. Giroux falls down as Ronaldo gets the puck. Sends it back down low in the Buffalo zone. Flyers will get a change here, so time for the Sabres to get to it. And they'll move it ahead. From the red line, Matt Olson will fling it deep into the Philadelphia zone. Quarter. Nick Schultz sends it up to the line, not out. Kicked in by Ristolainen. And Mitchell wrapped up by Vandevelde in the corner. Flyers reaching for the puck. Vandevelde continues to scramble for it. Bounces back to the point. Ristolainen a shot. Zepp the save. Puck high in the air off the glove of Schultz. Back to Zepp. He'll grab it and hang on. 2-1 Flyers here in the second. Back in Buffalo, Flyers lead the Sabres 2-1. 5:48 remaining in the second period. Still having some difficulties with our video feed back to Philadelphia, so going to radio call here, folks.
That's you and Bundy. That's your specialty.
Well, you too. You spent some time on the radio last time I checked.
Well, yeah, that's true. Mornings are a little different.
Different kind of format.
I don't have to describe where it's at.
I'm fresh from the radio, guys.
Yeah, Angelo carries you anyhow.
Carry it here for a while.
Puck back out to the point, kept in by the Sabres. Off the offensive draw for Buffalo. It's a 2-1 game. Flyers on top. Checking on the boards is McDonald. He'll move it to the point, not out. Back deeper. Isidore off the defenseman. Now the Flyers get control, and Umberger will move it to the middle. And now takes the feed from Kolyakovo and carries it across the line. His shot. It's out of there by Neuvirth. The puck bouncing free to the circle. Kept in by the Flyers. A little backhanded pass down low. Shot! Save! Neuvirth off of Umberger. And the goalie gets knocked down. The puck sat there, but the Sabres able to clear it out of harm's way. Back in along the boards. Flyers have it again. Reed from the angle centers. Off a stick and then tried to take a shot with Kolyakovo. He was checked. Fired across ice by Couturier. Kept in the zone at the point by McDonald. Into the corner. Ristolainen dig that puck off the wall. He does. Sends it far side, where it's knocked down by the pinching Kolyakovo. They'll move it to Couturier, and now to Reed, who circles right into the corner. Now back out the other side. Centers Couturier shot. Neuvirth to save the rebound high in the air. Batted at in the slot, and finally the goaltender able to corral it, and he'll take the face-off.
Lots of Flyers action here around Michael Neuvirth, and a lot of attention by Sean Couturier in around that crease area. Matt Reed digging down low, and the Flyers have a lot more jump in their legs here in the second period. Simmons late on that shift, jumps out there and knocks the puck down towards the net.
You can see where Buffalo struggles, though, guys. This is where they get caught in their defensive zone. They can't get the puck out, and the Flyers seize the opportunity. Couturier left alone in the high slot. That's, you know, not what you want to do if you're playing well defensively, but the Flyers just outwork them for battle of possession of the puck.
Sabres get possession this time off the draw. Try to clear. Cannot. Simmons at the point. Keeps it in. Swings it down low. Raffle tips to the corner. Near side for Ronaldo. Onto the slot looking for Simmons. It's cut off by the Sabres. Strachan. Out to the neutral zone it goes. And now I've got a penalty coming up here. Something happened in the neutral zone away from the play. And Zach Ronaldo seems to be the guilty party.
Referee quick to get his hand up. Interference is the call. It was Patrick Kaleta that was in the area around Zach Ronaldo when the referee's hand quickly went up in the air. Craig Berube looks on. They're looking for discipline here. The puck's moved, and Ronaldo is late with the check to Kaleta, who's drawn a couple of penalties in this game.
Yeah, and the Flyers have had 3 power plays to Buffalo's 1, so, you know, the refs are going to be looking here in front of the home crowd in Buffalo, too. I'm a believer in that. And Buffalo going back on their second power play of the game.
And Kaleta, as he is wont to do, made sure the referee saw the contact.
Yep.
The spinorama flop.
Yeah,
In fact,
sold it pretty good.
Yeah, he sold it.
He draws a penalty for his team. It's a good play if the officials go for it. Flyers penalty kill, trying to protect the lead. Now here's Chris Stewart with a shot from the angle, went off a stick and just slid right across the slot area, and it's cleared all the way down the ice by the Flyers. And the Sabres have to go back deep in their own zone and start the rush. Their second power play of the game. Just lining ahead to Girgensons. Girgensons at the red line, then chips the puck deep to the corner. Tyler Ennis to it. Near side of the ice, gets it back out. Just line and cross ice. One-time shot goes wide. Just missing the target there in the one-time try. The Sabres is Tyler Ennis now on the near side, unable to complete his pass to the middle, intercepted. And Chris Mandevelde will send it down into Buffalo ice. Zadorov had that one-time attempt. Probably the best scoring chance the Sabres have had with their 2 power plays thus far in the game.
First one, the Flyers spent much of it in the Buffalo Sabres zone. This time they were able to gain entry and at least get it towards the net.
It's about halfway through this particular power play as they move it across ice. Benoit to Tyler Myers. Myers carries it in behind the net pass to Ennis, gets it back. Myers in front. Here's a shot blocked aside. Matt Moulson unable to finish that. Went off a Flyer stick it into the safety netting.
Sean Couturier did a nice job of getting his stick on that one, and you can see it.
Matt Moulson, there he is, live and in color.
We're
glad
back.
to have our video feedback to Philadelphia.
And Sean Couturier does a nice job here getting his stick in the shooting lane. Right there he quickly looked, and actually Matt Reed reached in and got his stick on it and sent it up and over.
That's good job by those Killers. Really grouped together well there and making it hard.
Shot here by Benoit is deflected out of play by Raffl.
Let's take a look at our Wells Fargo great check of the game, and it belongs to 2 Buffalo players, Torrey Mitchell and Tyler Ennis, with an absolute destruction of one another here in Buffalo on Saturday night. Ennis up the tunnel. That is undoubtedly the Wells Fargo great check of the game.
Ennis has since returned, so no harm, no foul apparently on that one, and there wasn't any foul because it was 2 teammates, but no harm apparently. And happy about that. Didn't see anybody get hurt.
Get your feelings hurt more than anything.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, you can plan your attack with a 3-game mini plan starting at $200. Save 35% off your choice of a rival matchup against the Penguins coming up this Tuesday. Rangers or Blackhawks, plus 2 other games at PhiladelphiaFlyers.com. And the Penguins-Flyers game is always a great one. No question about that. No matter where either team is at in the standings, the Flyers and Penguins have a lot of hate.
That doesn't go away.
Never does.
Especially as long as number 87 is playing for the
Tracks
Penguins.
a lot of them.
Tends to be in the middle of it. There's a cross-ice pass for the Sabres, still on the power play. 15 more seconds. Ryan Flynn could not get that back to the point. Edward Bellemare with diligent work to get it out of the zone. And now he's looking for the puck in center ice. Ahead to R.J. Umberger, and he'll just snap one deep into the Buffalo zone as the power play runs its course. Flyers back to full strength. They kill it off. Ronaldo out of the box. Fluttering puck to the left of Zepp. He couldn't control it. Now they try to bank it in, and he gets back in the net to take that opportunity away from Drew Stafford. The other way goes Couturier, just dumping it deep into Buffalo ice. He takes out toward 2 minutes remaining here in the second period. Cody Hodgson, just 2 goals on the year for Cody Hodgson. He's expected to be a pretty big offensive contributor here to Buffalo, but it has not worked out that way. The Cavalier lost the puck at the Buffalo line. Couturier checked by Hodgson, and now it's tucked back deep into the Philadelphia zone. Phil Veroni. Cavalier could not clear as it's kept in. Well, got that puck deep, and now here's Stafford. Back behind the net, cut off by Andrew McDonald. And he'll find Luke Schenn. Ahead for Couturier. And he'll get air underneath it as he dumps it deep into the Buffalo zone. Just the line in his back. And he'll move it ahead. Easy out there for the Sabres. Torrey Mitchell up the middle off on the left wing. Moulson tries to get it back to Mitchell. Intercepted, but kept in the zone. Zadorov goes around behind the net, then angles it off of Zepp. Back out. Just the line in. As that one flutter off his stick to the slot, and is turning with it. Tyler Ennis will shuffle it around the boards to the other side of the ice, and there's Moulson. To the corner, Mitchell. Mitchell back to the point. That shot off the post, hits Zepp, and then bounces wide. Now it comes back out in front, and it scores. Flyers never could recover. And this game is tied at 2. Ennis going upstairs to not things.
And it was all about the recovery of the puck by the Buffalo Sabres after a tricky point shot with traffic in front. Little pick was set on Giroux. Moulson headed to the net. There's the puck off the pipe and off the back of Zepp. And Zepp not able to get back up in time before Ennis makes a tricky backhand and elevates it up and over him.
Yeah, Ristolainen took the shot. It had eyes. See an eye shot going right through everybody. And then the Flyers just could not recover that puck. Luckily, it didn't bounce off Zepp on the initial shot. That is a very, very tough battle in front. Ennis finds the loose garbage and shovels it up over Zepp.
So this game tied at 2. Any goal in the final minute of period really stinks. Goal against. Flyers will have to respond to that. Ennis from Olsen. Ristolainen. Sabres will send the puck back into the Philadelphia zone. Stewart in after it. Girgensons is there as well. Puck squirts free. Girgensons has it. Back out to Myers. He'll blast. Save. Zepp through tremendous traffic with Flynn right on top of him. And the Flyers go back the other way. Simmons will backhand in. Ronaldo is there. That pass tipped away. Back out to center ice. Go the Sabres. Stewart sending it deep. Lozado behind the net. Luke Schenn got out in front. Girgensons was looking for it, but was checked. Back behind the net. Stewart. Flynn was wide open. 6 seconds remaining in the period. Brackett stepped into. And now just trying to protect the puck with Delzato. They still get it out in front, but the horn sounds ending period number 2. A late push by the Sabres. They tie the game, and then they nearly take the lead. But we are tied after 40 minutes of play. Streit, the number on the board for the Flyers in period number 2. Tonight's third period on Comcast Sportsnet is brought to you by your Philadelphia Super Network Buick GMC dealers. And by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% on car insurance. Getting set for the start of the third period. Here are the numbers through 2, courtesy of Rothman Institute at Jefferson.
Much better second period for the Flyers. They end up with 19 shots through 2 periods. Face-offs, Buffalo with the advantage there. Also in block shots, but the Flyers' power play comes up big. Penalty kill also solid through 2 periods.
Flyers were behind 2 in front on power play goals by Umberger and Streit, but then Tyler Ennis tied it back up in the final minute of period number 2. Our GMC NHL update takes you to Detroit. The Red Wings already up 3-0 on the Nashville Predators. Matthias Ekholm will get Nashville on the board. That shot right there, but the Red Wings would respond. Datsuk and Zetterberg teamed up on that one. Zetterberg ends up banking that one in. And Thomas Tatar has added his second goal of the game to make it 5-1 Detroit over those Predators, who are still without Pekka Rinne in goal. Can't wait to get him back. They come off a big win over Washington.
Yeah, they win last night 4-3 late in the game. James Neal with the game-winning goal after Matt Niskanen turned it over. Carter Hutton was in goal for that win. His first of the season, the first goalie other than Pekka Rinne to win a game for Nashville this year, and the Red Wings all over them tonight.
That spoiled Barry Trotz return to Nashville last night.
Yeah, late goal.
Here in Buffalo, the game deadlocked as we start the third period. Sabres trying to end a 9-game losing streak. Flyers trying to get back on the winning track. In fact, end a 6-game winless streak on the road. Flyers 4-4-3 when tied after 2. Much break even in the Sabres. Actually a winning record in this situation. Giroux back to get the puck in his own zone. On the wall, Voracek had trouble controlling that. And Tyler Ennis has it for Buffalo. His pass back to the slot. Torrey Mitchell is stopped. Back it goes. George's a shot, and it's snared by Zepp. He'll hang on.
Wasn't an easy save. A nice job by Zepp looking through the traffic in front. Josh George has fired the puck high through to the net after Voracek had made a good play to chip the puck away. There's Zepp to snare it and hang on.
They go down in the butterfly. Almost all goalies do, but what Zepp does well is he looks through everybody to see where that puck was. They're doing some repairs to the side of the post on Rob Zepp right now. But that was a broken play because it was poke check back, not dropped. And that left some of the Flyers out looking for that puck, and a good job by Rob Zepp.
There's a good look at the repair work post area. And they get that all fixed up. We'll get back to play here. Zepp with 15 saves. As he tries to get another victory at the NHL level. Off the face-off, the Flyers move the puck up. It hits the linesman. R.J. Umberger jumps on it. He's checked. And following up is Luke Schenn to wind it deep into Buffalo ice. The line could not come up with the puck. Flyers have it. Read back to Delzato. He'll wind and fire. It goes off the stick and into the safety netting.
Went off a Buffalo Sabre stick too, so the face-off stays inside.
Let's take a look at our Independence Blue Cross fearless play. Guy we've mentioned a few times tonight, Tyler Ennis, takes the big check from his teammate Torrey Mitchell. Then the shot goes back. He stays in the game, leaves for a few minutes, comes back in and gets the tying goal for Buffalo late in the second period. It's Tyler Ennis, Independence Blue Cross fearless play of the game.
Sabres finally have a second player in double figures in goals as well, as Ennis got his 10th. Look at that game-tying tally in the second period.
First point of 2015 for Ennis as well, who had some good spurts during the Sabres 10-3 run.
Nice pass there from Umberger. It is deflected into the Buffalo zone by Couturier. Benoit will move it up the boards. Coletta is checked there. Koliakovo in from the point. Couturier digging away. Koliakovo gets it back to Reed. Cross ice shot. That one glances off of something and went wide of the net of Neuvert. Now it's Koliakovo. Coletta forceful there as well. And finally it's out to center ice. Flyers have it. Trying to get it into the zone is Ronaldo. Actually got it to Simmons, who sends it back into the corner for Ronaldo. Centered it. The Sabres on that. Laurier will move it out to the neutral zone and bank it to Philadelphia ice. Delzato back. Torrey Mitchell right on him. Wayne Simmons will track the puck down. Simmons chopped that. And now Ronaldo ahead to Simmons on the tape. Hit across the line he goes. His right wing feed broken up. Matt Molson will drop it back to Tyler Myers. Lanky defenseman lumbering through center around his stick check. Hit across the line off to Mitchell. Mitchell shot. Saves Zepp. Lost it in front. His stick goes flying. The puck is in the blue paint. Finally a whistle stopping play. Somehow or other it stayed out.
Wow. Zepp had some trouble in trying to smother that puck in the original shot attempt in and around the blue paint. He felt like he had it momentarily, and then you'll see the little panic. Look, there is a leg of Luke Schenn was in his way. He does a terrific job of covering the bottom portion of the net, and somehow that puck stays out.
Vinny Lecavalier came back right there, Jones. You see the overhead, and that's what kept it out. Zepp fought again. Myers with both chances. He joined the rush, but man, that was a dangerous play, and all it was that quick rebound. You can see the commotion that causes in front of the net. Zepp finally able to secure that puck.
They're going to take a look at this to see if the Tyler Myers attempt went over the goal line or not. It looked like Zepp had his body in front of the line, but they will take a peek. The overhead shot that we had showed Tyler Myers coming in late after about 2 or 3 cracks at that puck in and around Rob Zepp. The third one got through, and Zepp was able to block it with his chest before it went over the line. Zepp gets some skate repairs. Here's the look here, and you'll see the puck come back into the crease area. It's going to go to the stick of Tyler Myers right there. And Rob Zepp is able to get his body in front of it before the puck could get over the line.
Yeah, it wasn't even after the second look here. It's not even close.
You can't get a better look than the referee
had. As good as it gets, and it's a good effort by Myers, the defenseman up there in the battle. But on the overhead, it's never really close.
Take another peek at it here from Myers' view. He did a good job of finding that puck, spinning back and getting back in there to get a second crack at it right there. And you see where Zepp's head is. He's still looking at where that puck was, even though he was down and appeared to be out. He still was in position to allow that puck to hit him and knew exactly where it was when Myers made contact.
Steve Kazari is in communication. People in Toronto, he was the referee who had the good look at it, and here's his call.
After review, the puck never crosses the goal line, so it's no goal.
And the referee has made a call, and it's backed up. He's like, what else did you expect?
Yes.
No goal.
Well said.
So it remains a tie hockey game. Draw to the right of Zepp, and then the Sabres win it. It's fired wide of the Philadelphia cage. And nice play there. He moves it ahead to Giroux. Giroux in across the line. A shot. Accept that one in the breadbasket and hang on.
Good decision by Claude Giroux up the ice. Get the puck to the net. Giroux out there for the defensive zone face-off with Van de Velde and Bellemare. So he'll head to the bench, allowing Craig Berube to make a decision whether he'll put Vinny Lecavalier out on the ice with his line mates. And
yeah, that's exactly what he did. Vinny will head on the wing. Bellemare go right back to center here.
Flyers win the draw. Here's Lecavalier centering, and it gets caught upside of the net. And de Velde looking for it, never could. A clean shot off on net. And Schultz pitches, forces the puck back into the corner. Lecavalier there. Oh, Flyer goes down. Bellemare went down, and he's very slow getting back up. They blow play dead. And now Pierre-Edouard will make his way back to the Philadelphia bench.
Neither referee saw it. And I can hear a discussion saying about the contact down low. And there's the hit right there. Zadorov making contact. That's interference that neither referee saw.
Yeah, that's no question a missed penalty right there by the refs. And rare to miss that. You can see the referee looking at him. And he leaned into him. That's
much more interference than Michael Raffl earlier in the game. Wow.
Yeah, that's unbelievable to miss that.
And now, of course, concern for Bellemare as he got that one in the chops.
Zadorov 6'6", and somehow the referee didn't see that big body back there.
Hello, Koliakovo with the puck. Moves it to the middle, and now McDonald ahead to Braden Shen. Pass on the right wing is knocked aside. McDonald gets it back. Koliakovo, and now rink wide. Flyers trying to find a way to penetrate the zone here. Voracek skates it rink wide and does play it deep. Go after Myers in the corner, as does Shen. Then stepping into Myers, Giroux got it back to Koliakovo. He'll wind, he'll fire wide. Giroux back out. Koliakovo could not keep it in. Back in center ice, Braden Shen. Nice reverse pass there to Giroux, and he'll fire it across ice. He'll be at that referee. Forced it to duck out of the way. Now the Sabres have it. Georges and Reed knocked down his first pass. It's stolen now. Umberger trying to get it to Reed, who had dropped his stick but was picking it back up. It was broken up and cleared, icing the call on Buffalo. Time to give you the answer to tonight's Jeep Trivia question of the game. We asked the only season besides 74-75 when the Sabres made it to the finals, and that was, of course, 1999, the 98-99 season. And another moment from this arena as the Dallas Stars would win the Stanley Cup. And
with that goal, remember?
Yes.
Brett Hull.
Brett Hull.
In the crease goal.
Infamous goal here in Buffalo, Chris.
Yes. They call it, what is it, the no goal 2.
That's right.
The Cowboys wish that they would have adjusted a rule.
Yeah. You know what?
Not catch the other day. That was not a catch.
You know what no goal 1 was, right, guys?
No.
Yeah, trivia. It was Johnny Leclerc shot the
yeah,
the net.
that's right.
Koshik, yeah.
We like that one.
Yeah, we like that a lot.
That one, not quite the finals, but yes, that was the playoffs as well.
That was on Hasek.
Yes, it was.
I'll never forget Hasek looking back saying, I had that angle. How did it wind up in the net?
Good old home
through the
cooking
net.
right there, guys. Yep.
But the other one ended the season, ended the Stanley Cup Finals.
Some fans are still sitting here waiting for that call to be overturned.
Torrey Mitchell firing that one high and wide, and all the way out to center ice. And now drifting back with the puck is Straka. 4.5 minutes into this third period, 2-2 game. Sprite ahead for Couturier. And now fighting hard is Ronaldo, and he got it out to the neutral zone. Benoit bounces it back to Philadelphia ice. He's opened up in this game a little bit in the second period, but goes back down somewhat now as the teams are checking well, and both teams desperate for a victory. One is obviously there to be had right now in this 2-2 game. Stalainen goes back for it. Raffl pursuing him. Let them off the puck. Roth, though, will move it ahead, and the Sabres move up to speed, but Hachi just all kinds of problems controlling the puck, and the play ends up offside at the Philadelphia line.
Well, he is celebrating an upcoming special occasion. If you are, make it special. Make it extra special with a suite at a Flyers game. Enjoy VIP amenities, including private bathroom and waiter plus great catering options for 12 to 24 people. Call 215-389-9500.
Sabres clear the puck in. Andrew McDonald over after it. Get back into the corner. Matt Ellis spilled as Yakovo will move the puck to Van de Velde. He is checked. Now the battle in the corner. Good to see Pierre Bellemare right back out there for the Flyers. Ellis pursued by Koliakovo. The puck all the way to Lecavalier. Lecavalier ahead. He's got Van de Velde moving up. In on goal. Chris Van de Velde, what a finish after a great pass from Lecavalier, and the Flyers take the lead back. It's 3-2. Van de Velde scores for a case of Tasty Cake.
From one end to the other. Great job defensively as the Flyers are in good position to do a nice job. Koliakovo right there, good stick position. He frees the puck to Vinny Lecavalier. It's a saucer pass in the air that Van de Velde knocks down and walks in. He tried to make a move, didn't have to. The puck slipped through the legs of Neuwirth, and the Flyers have the lead.
That's exactly what happened, Jonesy. He tried to pull that puck to his backhand. It never went. And instead, he left the puck kind of floating in there. Not ready for it. It's a good play, though, defensively all the way up through the offensive zone. Good goal.
That is a tremendous pass by Lecavalier. And Van de Velde, I'll tell you, that was a fake for the puck.
Well, when you come in with that kind of speed, you're kind of forcing the goaltender to make the first move, and Van de Velde had some good puck luck there getting it through the legs.
That's his 4th goal of the year. The Flyers have the lead back. Sabres, they say, are onside. A little backhander off the glove of Zepp. Out the other side, Stewart tried to center. And he stopped before he could get that puck into the dangerous area. Delzato. Luke Schenn, and then ahead to Voracek. Being grabbed there by Stewart. Flyers get the puck back, and Braden Schenn will wait and then softly play it into the Buffalo zone. Approach the 7-minute mark of this third period. Puck bounces free to Umberger. He did it well wide of the net. Nick Schultz over after it. And now Umberger in the corner all the way across to Streit. Streit, right wing feed. Now cutting in is Couturier for a shot that's blocked. He got it back out in front. It sat there for a moment. Batted out of harm's way by Buffalo. Schultz in deep to get that to Couturier. And a scramble on here. Umberger will roll it up the board. Streit tried to keep it in. Could not have played in the neutral zone. Cross for Schultz. Now in the middle. Nice pass there for Couturier. Might have hit the linesman. It stayed out of the zone. And Sabres get it back. Myers will go across. Pushing into the red line. Andre Benoit. And he'll bounce one into the left of Zepp. Schultz back for Philadelphia. Tip pass through center. Couturier will surge in after it. Gets it away from Strachan. And then the pass hopped over the stick of Ronaldo. And Simmons has it, twisting and turning into the slot. Koliakovo's shot goes wide. Couturier back to Koliakovo. Little wrist shot. That's knocked down, and Neuwirth will jump on top of the puck. Just over 12 minutes remaining in the third. Chris Van de Velde has given the Flyers a 3-2 lead.
Flyers take the lead here in the third period. Lecavalier, a nice pass. Look at the hands of Van de Velde, knocking it out of the air and then driving towards the net. Zadorov gets a piece of the stick there, and Van de Velde is able to let that slide in through the legs.
Number 4 for Van de Velde. He's taking advantage of the ice time he's been getting. And that's a huge goal right there. McDonald is back. Look ahead. The Sabres keep it in. Behind the Philadelphia net. Donald and Flynn over there. Raffl comes back, digs it out, and moves up ice with it to Simmons. Simmons cutting to the middle, back to Raffl. Raffl the shot. It takes off high and wide. Ronaldo jabs it back for Simmons. Eventually gets control of it, and now it's Raffl from the angle and spinning with it. Raffl back out to the point. Luke Schenn across for Delzato. Little wrist shot. Save a rebound. Raffl, he scores! Michael Raffl buries the rebound, and the Flyers now lead 4-2. Raffl scores for a case of Tasty Cake.
Flyers really spread the puck and spread out the Buffalo Sabres in the defensive zone. A nice job by Luke Schenn sliding it D to D. And Delzato just gets the puck towards the net. Ronaldo drives the net, providing a screen in front, and it bounces over to Michael Raffl. May have hit off Ronaldo over to Raffl.
Again, that's really, really good job, though, nonetheless, by the Flyers. Again, going to the front of the net, that hit the mask, it looks like, of Neuvirth, and then bounces right onto the stick of Raffl. You see Raffl hustle back and beat his man, Ristolainen, back to the front of the net. That's a good goal by Philadelphia, and an effort goal. That's what you like to see here in the third.
Michael Raffl getting some attention from both Harry Bricker and Jim McCrossin over there. He has his 12th goal of the year. Schenn and Delzato the assist. So they're saying it did not hit Ronaldo. And away across. The Flyers have a 2-goal lead. Both of the goals here in the third at even strength. They had gone 9 periods between even strength goals, but have a couple separated by less than 3 minutes of play. Here's Ennis trying to get one back, and it's jammed wide from in front by Molson. Ennis has the puck again. Trying to spin away from Luke Schenn. Tyler Ennis slams on the brakes. Stutter step move. And back out to the point. And it gets away from Mitchell. Lecavalier moves up. Vinny Lecavalier up the right wing. Holds, waits and fires. Save Neuvirth. And he will just pin that one against his chest.
Great approach here for the Flyers in the third period. Lecavalier picking up an assist and making a smart play there. Up by 2, firing towards the net and forcing another offensive zone faceoff.
Let's take a look at our Hyundai save of the game. And it's going to be this period. Rob Zepp earlier. He's down, guys. No stick. And a huge battle ensues in front of that. Big Tyler Myers there. And Zepp makes the Hyundai save of the game. Great job.
2:45 to be exact. The time between the 2 Flyer goals. That Zepp save. Big part of this period, as well as that shot. Laurier went wide of the Philadelphia net. He was reaching up as though he might have gotten clipped. But no call. And the Flyers have the puck. Here is Giroux. Head manning out of the reach of Brayden Schenn. Wiping out. As Hochman, he got the puck to Ellis. And he'll slide one deep into the Philadelphia zone. Side of the net. Sabres get to it. Walking in front. The pass from Kaleta misfires for Georges. Kaleta barrels into Voracek in the corner. Sabres, very hard-working shift here. They want to try to get back within 1. Brayden Schenn turns with it and gets to Giroux. He's all by himself. And they cleared that one in. That's going to be an icing call. I don't think that's what Claude wanted to do, but face-off back into Philadelphia ice.
The Flyers take on a bitter rival, the Pittsburgh Penguins, this Tuesday. It's a 7:30 start. Limited seats remain. Reserve your tickets now with the Flyers free mobile app or by visiting PhiladelphiaFlyers.com. Craig Berube may use his time out here. Voracek and Giroux were both spent at the end of that last shift, and Giroux was trying to put it on goal, and the puck kind of took a strange bounce after he released it.
Yeah, Giroux trying to get the line there and realizing that he was trying to get it soft. But you know what, guys? Ooh. Have a look at that. That's bringing back some memories of the Carolina game, and he missed the New Jersey game the next night. It's the same leg. I can't think it's anything but that. But again, you have to battle through an injury like that. And Claude even said that. I talked to him about it, and he said it's getting better. It's a matter of dealing with the pain, but clearly that cut has opened up, and it's tough. Anytime you sweat in there, Jones, and you know how it is. Perspiration just warms everything up and it opens it up. So he's obviously playing through something right now for sure.
Sometimes there can be iodine and stuff that's put on top of the cut too. So I'm not 100% sure that it would be bleeding like that. But no surprise if Giroux's playing through that type of pain. We have seen him take some shorter than usual shifts in this one.
We got the Kurt Schilling bloody sock issue here.
Yeah. Just thinking that too, Jimmy.
Yeah.
But playing through whatever it is, and Flyers have the lead here. Drew is mad at himself there for that icing. Back to tap Rob Zepp. There's a shot by Flynn. The save by Zepp. And Streit will get the Voracek. Into the middle for Mark Streit. He's able to tip the puck into the Buffalo zone. Georges takes over there. Past the midpoint of this third period as the Flyers look to win on the road here. It'll be their first of 2015. There's Sean Couturier backhanding. Neuvirth will handle that one and hang on. We'll step aside with 9:09 to play in the third, and the Flyers up by 2.
And how about 2 Flyer goals in a span of 2:45 this period? Chris Van de Velde, great hands in the neutral zone. Maybe not so great by the net, but the puck ended up in there. and then a shot goes through. Michael Raffl on the doorstep. That is a great goal by the Flyers, 2 of them in a short span, and that's given them some cushion here with 9:09 left. It's the Toyota turning point of the game.
Vanderbilt still smiling. That shot blocked, and now Reed sends one toward the net, went off a stick high in the air, and Neuvert able to grab it.
You're looking for depth in your scoring, and the Flyers have got that tonight. Raffl playing center in this game, picks up a goal. Vanderbilt on that 4th line contributes as well. In the 3rd period, it's been all about the offensive scoring depth of the Flyers, which of course they've been looking for of late after being shut out in back-to-back games.
R.J. Umberger with a goal earlier in the game. Flyers with a puck in their own zone here, a little adventurous. They'll send it along the boards. Mitchell after. Reed stole it, bounced off a skate, back out in front. Now Mitchell back out. Just the line into the puck, centers it. Cams around behind the net. And it's just the line and finding it again and centering. It goes off the skate and through to the corner. Umberger will move to it, and the Flyers will move up ice. Couturier couldn't hang on to that pass. Ristolainen gathers. 20-year-old defenseman. They say plays sometimes like a 30-year-old. He has a lot of poise out there. Moves that puck ahead. Ennis is checked. Now Josh Georges has control. Georges from the red line. Winds it in. Tyler Myers to it. Myers worked on by Delzato. Luke Schenn stole the puck momentarily. In fact, it's Delzato who recovers it and moves it ahead. Michael Raffl surging through center off of the right wing. Simmons. Simmons waits, fires, glove save. Neuvert. Little contact there as Raffl is sent careening toward the goal. And a gathering, as usually happens when there's contact with the goalie.
And a good decision by Wayne Simmons again, just firing that puck. Another offensive zone face-off, and the Buffalo Sabres having to go 200 feet every time they're out for these defensive zone draws. It's a long way to go, especially when you're down a couple. And there's Simmons' shot, and Raffl driving the net there. Some contact just prior to hitting the goalie. He did enough to back off that he didn't take a penalty.
Flyers looking for the puck off the offensive zone draw. Rocket able to move it along to Coletta, but now it's LeCavalier finding the puck. Turnaround move, and then his pass out in front bounces out to center. Schultz hammers it back in. Flyers have to retouch here, so there's time. They have done that. Buffalo moving the puck ahead, and Ellis will move it through center. Coletta is checked by Schultz, and they dig for it along the boards. 7.5 remaining here in the 3rd. Flyers taking the 2-goal lead. Coletta checked by LeCavalier, taken down by LeCavalier, trying to draw another penalty, but they don't go for it this time, and the Flyers will gain control as both teams change players. Straight, chopping it back. Koliakovo surveying as he sets things up. In no particular hurry now. Straight to Giroux from the red line. There's it off the glass. It settles for Georges. Sends it up the glass. Flynn tips, and Flyers will play it in center ice. Koliakovo has it back. Quick pass ahead. Giroux's offering to Schenn, cut off by Myers, who sends Flynn to the Philadelphia line. Offside as they beat the puck in on the right wing. Stewart a little anxious there. The biggest stars in the galaxy are about to align in Columbus, Ohio for the 2015 NHL All-Star Weekend. Begins Friday on NBCSN. Claude Giroux, Jake Voracek from the Flyers will be there. Zemgus Girgensons from the Sabres will be there, and Keith Jones will be there.
I will. Looking forward to it. Always a good time. It'll be good to see Jake and Claude both there. Outstanding season so far.
Ad Reed with the puck here for Philadelphia. Up the left wing with it. Settles. And then drops it back. The shot by Umberger. Save made. Rebound. Side of the net. Flyers digging for it now. They get it back out to Luke Schenn, who sends it around to Couturier. On Couturier. Back out to the point. Across from Schenn to Delzato in front. Tipped there by Umberger. He gets it back. His shot blocked. He gets it back again. And his stick breaks. Well, they got 3 cracks at it. Never could quite get it through. Now it's Ennis the other way. Tyler Ennis, good about moving, then the backhander goes wide, back out in front, and it's blocked aside. Ennis has the puck once more. Changes direction, try to get away from Reed. Ennis, knife his way to the slot, wraparound try to save. Ennis back out, or save, I should say, Zepp, as Ennis was standing nearby. Now it's Straka getting it back out. Georges, and that one ends up in the lap of Ray Emery on the Philadelphia bench. 4-2 Flyers in the 3rd. Tonight's Flyers-Sabres game is brought to you by Wells Fargo. Together we'll go far. By Toyota. Where will Toyota take you? Visit buyatoyota.com to find out. Toyota, let's go places. And by Bud Light, the perfect beer for whatever happens. You're looking at one of the rinks that's part of the Harbor Center project here in Buffalo. It's connected to the First Niagara Center in Buffalo's Canal Side District. The whole entire facility includes 2 NHL-sized rinks, Academy of Hockey, a high-performance training facility, a full-service Marriott hotel, which will soon be in operation, a sports-themed restaurant and bar, big parking garage, outdoor skating rinks. It's something to see. They've really done a tremendous job making this area friendly to the fans. Then it'll draw a lot of fans, a lot of youth hockey tournaments here as well.
Yeah, possibly the World Juniors coming here as well, which would be an awesome thing for the Buffalo area.
That puck went out of play with 5:26 to play in the third. Flyers continue along their way toward the All-Star break as they'll be on Long Island. Martin Luther King Day matinee. The Nassau Coliseum, the Flyers' final regular season game at the Nassau Coliseum. Our coverage begins at 1 o'clock on Monday. And then the next night at the Wells Fargo Center on NBCSN, it's the Flyers and Penguins before everyone breaks for the All-Star game. All-Star weekend festivities. The Islanders probably won't be in a very good mood come Monday as that shot goes off the glove of Neuvirth. Van de Velde. The Islanders are losing 6-2 in Montreal tonight.
After beating the Penguins 6-3 yesterday. So the schedule.
It's always a hard game to win in Montreal on a Saturday night.
Yeah, especially
I can tell you that.
Playing the night before and heading in there. But the Islanders are having a heck of a season.
Leading the Metropolitan Division. Montreal right up there too. That could be an Eastern Conference Finals preview right there. Tampa Bay has something to say about that, as do Pittsburgh and Washington. Rangers. Really several really good teams in the East. And the East actually has been pretty well against the West here over the last 2 or 3 weeks. There's Tyler Myers moving in. Myers and falls down, takes the shot. Save made by Zepp. Koliakovo wiped out, and everything opened up. But Zepp had an answer for the big Sabres defenseman.
Yep, Myers walking in and fired a quick shot there. The key for Zepp is that there was no rebound. He did a nice job of holding on to that puck, and Myers quickly firing it there, and there's Zepp to calmly grab it and force another draw.
And Koliakovo just lost an edge there, and Zepp with a nice play. Challenge just enough. A real good goaltending by Zepp tonight.
Josh George's shot seen all the way by Zepp. He'll grab that and had no intentions of putting it back in play. Another face-off.
Couturier will line up to take that draw. Koliakovo has played a pretty solid game here tonight for the Flyers. Picked up an assist on the Van de Velde go-ahead goal. Has moved the puck well. Had some shots from the point that have got through to the Sabres net.
Flyers win the defensive zone draw and clear the zone. That goal read Van de Velde from LeCavalier and Koliakovo. Might be an NHL record for amount of letters.
That's a lot of letters.
Going across on a goal. Van Reed winds it deep into the Buffalo zone. And the Sabres get to it. They move up with speed to center. Here's Ennis. And circle back. Go cross ice. Myers handcuffed by that pass, and then he drills a pass all the way back down the ice. Less than 4 minutes remaining in the third. We're off to Ennis. Ennis poke check there by Jake Voracek. The puck back along now to the other side of the ice. Sabres trying to clear. Can't. Voracek keeps it in. He's trying to pass that to Giroux. Went in on Neuvirth instead, and he'll hang on to it.
Let's take a look at our Mazda top shelf performers from tonight's game. Rob Zepp, 22 saves. Voracek picks up his 53rd point of the season. Was an assist on the power play marker. R.J. Umberger snapped Philly's scoreless drought. That was a lot of minutes. Zemgus Girgensons picks up his 12th goal of the season. Tyler Ennis is 10th. And Michael Neuvirth does a nice job in net, but the Flyers beat him for 4.
Zepp has had some key saves in this game. Not a ton of saves, but some key saves. You might have to make 1 or 2 more before this one is all wrapped up with still 3:20 to play, and the Sabres trying to push the envelope offensively. Myers lobs that one toward the slot. Koliakovo after it, still loose. Donald swept it out of the slot, but now Matt Ellis is there. Ellis angled it out in front, goes all the way through. Hustling over, trying to clear the zone was Ronaldo, and he does. Ahead to Simmons. Simmons is checked, and Coletta gets it back for Buffalo. Outside center. Laurier will get it as far as the Philadelphia line. Sabres trying to change. Simmons, second crack at getting this into the zone, decides to go cross ice to Luke Shannon. He will pump it deep to Buffalo ice. Van de Velde got up by a couple of Sabres. Line couldn't control. Flyers have it. Callier trying to spin away from a check by Girgensons. Wants it back out and is jammed deep into the zone. And a penalty coming up here. Flyers get to the puck. Lecavalier was in a battle along the boards, and Lecavalier is heading to the box. Sabres to get a power play here with 2:26 remaining in the third.
Let's take a look at our Bud Light player of the game, Rob Zepp. Had to make a couple of real tough saves on the breakaway, guys. That was a tremendous one on Girgensons. And an excellent job again in the third period at the beginning here. Scramble in front, Tyler Myers in on it. Quick save, he battles, stays in it for his efforts here tonight. Rob Zepp with a 4-2 lead and 2:26 to go is our Bud Light player of the game.
Buffalo Sabres use their timeout here. And here's the penalty to Vinny Lecavalier in the offensive zone as Ted Nolan and his coaching staff draw how they want this power play, where I suspect they'll pull their goaltender. There's the arm of Vinny on the stick of Ristolainen. And the referee in good position there. You see his arm up. And the Flyers will be penalty killing here for the last little bit of this one. If they can get the job done, which they did on the first two in this game.
You wonder if Ted Nolan will pull his goalie here and go to a 6-on-4.
Would suspect
that's what he's going to do, yeah.
Try to get within one and then get back to work on tying the game after that. There goes Weber hanging out right at the Buffalo bench. So 6 skaters on 4. Flyers can take aim at that empty net, though, from their own zone since they are penalized. Couturier, Girgensons on this face-off. Having trouble getting it underway. Mel drops the puck, and it bounces out to center ice. Tyler Myers trying to get that puck to settle down as he drifts back right in front of that empty net. And his pass, and the Sabres will move it up. Finding it deep to Philadelphia ice. Stewart after it. Around to the other side. Defenseman Zadorov is there, punting it to Matt Molson. Molson to Stewart. Stewart holding on. And goes back out to Myers. Myers looking for a seam. Nothing developed, so he'll pass. Or off on the other side of the ice, back out to Myers. Myers, the shot or pass there is blocked. Bounces free to the other side of the ice. Or up behind the net. Girgensons drilled into the boards. Sabres wanted a penalty on Del Zotto there. They don't get it. Girgensons back up. He's dumped again. Sabres have the puck. Ennis to Stewart. He flubbed that pass, but it makes its way to Myers. Back to Stewart. Now all the way across ice. He played off the boards as the Sabres set up again. Myers tips. Zadorov shot. That one bounces back out, and then Girgensons drills it off the glass. Zadorov, 50 seconds remaining on the power play. 1:15 in the third period. And it sends it in front. Redirection. Down the glass. Now they center it back out in front. It's tipped wide. And then they score from in tight. Just a scramble at the side of the net. And finally it's in as Zengus Girgensons appears to have his second of the night. It's a 4-3 game.
It will be Girgensons that picks up the goal. It was a backhand shot after a scramble in and around Rob Zepp. He was able to find it and eventually elevate it. There he is there, starting to play from behind. It went around the world there, and he was hit by the puck before corralling it and firing it up and over Rob Zepp.
Yeah, Girgensons ends up getting the play at the side, and he ends up carrying it off of Rob Zepp. And you know what, Zepp, nothing he could do. Those killers were tired out there too, guys. The Flyers 4 men that had out.
So it is a 1-goal game. Flyers back to full strength. Neuvert back between the pipes as the Sabres elect to put him back out there, try to get the puck into the offensive zone before they pull him. But the Flyers steal the puck. Raffle trying to center that, but it's blocked off. Now Raffle after it in the corner. He's got it again. Flyers certainly content to just keep the puck in the Buffalo zone as long as they can. But now the Sabres pushing ahead. Lynn's cross-ice pass could not be handled though by Stafford, and it's played in by Andrew McDonald. 37 seconds remaining. Sabres have finally scored more than 2 goals in the game. See if it's enough. Here's Stafford moving up. Neuvert goes to the bench. Stafford the move. Centers it in front. The shot went wide to the corner, was knocked aside. The last push from the Sabres, 21 seconds on the clock. Jurgensen's back out there. On the boards, dropped it back. North in deep, back to Stafford now. Stafford around to the other side of the ice. Luke Schenn cuts in, gets to the puck, could not clear. He's tied up, trying to move the puck along. Now it's flung all the way around to the other side, but the Sabres not at the point. It'll go all the way down the ice, and that will do it. As Myers turns with the puck, the horn sounds, and the Flyers have held on for a 4-3 victory over the Buffalo Sabres. A 10th consecutive regulation loss for the Sabres. And the Flyers ending their 6-game road winless streak as they win it 4-3. And the Sabres the first team to lose 10 in a row in regulation since the Penguins back in January of 2006. They came hard at the end, did the Sabres. Certainly tried to tie it, had a couple of anxious moments around the Flyers net, but the Flyers hold on for the win.
And the Flyers get some balanced scoring in this game. They end up getting 4 on the board. Van de Velde picking up one of them, Michael Raffl another, Mark Streit involved, and R.J. Umberger also scoring. So not the usual suspects popping into the net. The captain congratulates his teammates, and Rob Zepp heads off after another win.
He has his 3rd National Hockey League win, and he was a big part of it with some clutch saves in this game. So it's on to the island for the Flyers as they will meet up with the New York Islanders on Monday afternoon, Martin Luther King Day matinee. The Flyers' final regular season game at Nassau Coliseum. Our coverage begins on the Comcast Network at 1 o'clock. Here tonight, 2 teams desperate for a victory. The Flyers get the job done, holding on for the victory. Thanks again to our technical crew tonight. The producer for Flyers Hockey is Brian Cooper. The associate producer is Beth Ely. And our director is Mike Mulligan. For Keith Jones and Chris Terry, and I'm Jim Jackson. Once again, the final score, the Philadelphia Flyers 4, the Buffalo Sabres 3. Stay tuned for Flyers post-game live, presented by Cure Auto Insurance.